Hi, everybody. My name is Labrina Loving. I am going to be the moderator for the cloud track for the Nova Code Camp. We have got a pretty jam-packed set of speakers. If you can see my screen, we've got a set of jam-packed speakers for the next several hours that I'll be with you. So you definitely want to come and hang out and stay for a while. So kicking us off today, we have Vijaya Malla. He actually, I'm pretty excited about him joining us for this event. He actually volunteered a lot for Nova Code Camp, and now this is his first time speaking. So we're super excited to have him join and be part of Nova Code Camp. And I encourage other people as, this is how it works, right? You work and help volunteer, and then we definitely want you to come and speak and share your knowledge. Vijaya's a full stack Microsoft developer. He's a lifelong learner, and you can see obviously his great growth. So I'm excited to hear your session. So welcome, Vijaya.
Thank you, Labrina, for the nice introduction. Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Nova Code Camp 2020. Thank you, Labrina, for the introduction. And as she just mentioned, this is my first time speaking at Nova Code Camp. So today we are going to talk about Azure Maps and how to get started with it. It's a big, vast piece of Azure. So we are going to just dive into the introduction pieces, like how to get started and how to configure it and what are the basic like foundation blocks of the maps. So I am Vijaya Malla. I'm a software engineer at Aclara Smart Grid Solutions. I do sometimes blog at vijayamalla.com, and you can also follow me at Vijaya Malla on Twitter. So our story. So what we do at Aclara is we work with various utility companies across the whole of US and some countries outside. What we do is we have these smart meters that we install for the utility companies. When I say utility companies, it could be electric, water, and gas and network, things like that. So it's a basic scenario, like you have a house and imagine you have a electric meter, and we have a warehouse full of smart meters and the technician goes to the house and install the smart meter, and now your house has a smart meter. When I say smart meter, what it means is the readings every month or every iteration on when the utility company wants to get the reading from your house, they could just make a request directly to the meter, and then they will get the reading to their office. They don't have to send anybody to capture the reading. Or usually what happens is they have like these hubs around the houses, like at a cluster of houses or a bunch of houses. They have a hub, and then all the readings goes to the hub, and then they will get the reading. But in this case, every meter connects to their servers, and then the reading is sent to the server. So imagine, but in the reality, what you have is a bunch of houses which are close together. Imagine this like a community of houses, and there could be another community, a bunch of houses right next to it, and you'll have some other houses that's very far on the end of the slide and some on the other side of the slide, and there could be barns like farms and stuff, and there could be bridges or industries where the utility companies would serve, provide electricity, water, or gas, and things like that. So all of these scenarios, they have the meters, and it needs installation, obviously. So instead of one warehouse, what we have is multiple warehouses, and each warehouse would have a range of technicians depending on depending on the jobs they are providing in that location, or depending on the number of meters that they have to install within a specified time frame. And then they all go every day, get the meters from the warehouse. They go to work, install the smart meters, and then repeat until that piece of the job is done. So this is where the complexity to solve the complexity increases with respect to how do you plan the technicians' work every day? How do you plan the inventory at each of these warehouses? And how do you see the progress of the installation so you can plan and forecast and how many meters you want and what type of meters you want and how many technicians you want at a location? Imagine at warehouse 3, you have 2 technicians and they had to only work on let's say these 3, one barn and an industry and then a bridge, and then they're done with their work in a week. And what we do is then now they have to be assigned the houses at the lower right corner. So how do you plan all of that? And how do you visualize this data so the planning is easier? Divert the technicians and assign the inventory and things like that. So I think this problem can be really easily visualized using maps or using any geospatial capability service. So today we're gonna talk about how we're gonna use Azure Maps on it. And like I just mentioned, Azure Maps is super awesome tool provided by Microsoft, and it has the Azure cloud infrastructure as a backend. And when you configure it, you'll have a map, and all of the power behind the map is on Azure, and it can power various scenarios that you wanted to see and then plot on the map. So Azure Maps, like, why do we have to go to Azure Maps instead of other mapping providers? It's because they have the Azure backend that is powering it, and they do have the updated mapping data. And obviously they have Microsoft has Bing, so they have all the mapping data, and all of that data is available for all of us to use on Azure. And they also have geospatial capabilities. For example, like what is the elevation, what is the weather like, and so many other dimensions of data that you would expect, or you may not expect some dimensions, but they do have like a lot of data that you can use, and various routing options. So like I was just mentioning, I'm talking about a technician that's going from a warehouse to a house or to a barn or something to install a meter. So imagine it's just a person that's taking that route. And you could specify that option and then say, I only wanted just the regular directions that you go get at Google Maps or Bing Maps or something like that. Or if you want to specify the vehicle as an electrical vehicle, then it will give you directions based on electrical vehicle routes. So you have like these charging stations and stuff like that if the route is longer. And if it's a commercial vehicle, then the route will be completely different, that it won't go through the towns and a housing area and things like that. They also provide a REST API where you could just make a call, get the map, and then just show it on your app or on your website. Obviously, satellite imagery is also available, and they do have SDKs for web and Android. So these are some of the things that Azure Maps provides. Obviously the maps and searching capability. Let's say, imagine you are going from point A to point B. You're going to be using the routing piece of it, but you could search on what are the nearest gas stations, or what are the nearest restaurants like at a given position. So you can also do searching on that, and you could get all of the traffic information and weathers, and they also have time zone information, geofencing, which is very cool. Imagine a scenario where you wanted to like fire up an event depending on when the technician reaches a certain location. Let's say if a technician is going out to install meters of, let's say, 5 houses on a day, and you can geofence that area of each of the house, and then you can see where the technician is at a given time, or you can, like, maybe you want to send a notification to the house owner when the technician reaches that area. So maybe they could unlock the barn door, or they could unlock the door for the technician to go backside and then install the meter and things like that. And you could also have, you also have that map data, like I was just saying, what is the elevation like, and what is the terrain like, if it's a road or if it's just a grassland or things like that. And you could do all the operations on that aspect using the services that they provide. Next, okay, so Azure has, I think, over 50 or 60 regions right now. It's super big compared to any of the other cloud providers out there. It's available in all of the regions. The Azure Maps service is available in all the regions except China and South Korea. I got it from their website. So the pricing structure, obviously we know the cloud, the pricing for all of the services that we could use on the cloud is dependent on how much you use it, or how often you use it, or how many requests and things like that. And I think Azure Maps has one of the easiest pricing structure that is easy to understand, at least for me. When I go look at other services on Azure, it's like, hey, do you need this much RAM, and all the processes, and it gets really complex. At least for me, it gets harder for me to understand the pricing levels. But Azure Maps has easier, standard 0, S1, and the only, it's very easy in a way that, all these services that they provide that we just looked at the previous slide, some of the services are available for S0, and all of them are available for S1 pricing structure. That's like the very high level differentiation between those two things. And the beauty of Azure Maps is the security piece of it, because you could have Azure Active Directory authentication enabled on it, or you can also have a role-based authentication on who could see that data that you are plotting on the map, or at least to give permission to some person that they could see or not see the map and the data itself. Because it's just getting started, may not have enough time to get into the security piece of it, but all of the documentation that you see on docs.microsoft.com for Azure Maps, they all have the authentication piece in the code, so it's very, very easy to go through it and then just try to understand what we have to do to get the authentication enabled on the maps. Okay, so I'm just gonna start the demo. Just gonna show how to get started and what are the pieces that we need and things like that. So I'm gonna go here. What I'm gonna be doing is open Visual Studio Code, which has become really popular recently. And I have created a folder called CodeCamp 2020, and it's super easy to start. I'm just going to create, just an HTML file. And I have on the other monitor, I have some code that I can copy, so it's faster. Okay, so I just have an HTML file, super basic HTML, and I have a head tag and then a body tag, and a small title and a div, which is a placeholder for our map to be rendered at this location. So I just gave an ID here. So the next piece that you want is either you could you have to add the CSS and JavaScript files into your HTML file. So your app is connected to, when it's connected to Azure, it can use those JavaScript file in all the styling and then render the map accurately. So there's, again, I'm going to be doing the copy paste magic here. So I'm going to be pasting here a link file, which is a CSS file, and I also have a JavaScript file that we have to add as a part of that implementation, which is, if you can see, it's called atlas.min.js file. Now, now we can write our code within the body tag, or I mean, I could just create a new JavaScript file here and attach. I mean, I'm going to be adding that file. Okay, what did I call? Codecamp.js. Cool. So now we have added our JS file to our HTML file, and we could write all of the code that initializes the map object, and then that connects to Azure, and then that will be rendered at this location. So I'm going to go here to the JS file, and I will copy a function that will load the map. And we're going to be talking about all those pieces that we're going to be pasting here. So I have a basic function. It's very simple. The function name is getMap, and I'm initializing the map object here. Okay. And if you see here, I'm calling the Atlas library that we added in the HTML file from Azure. And I'm saying, this is where I want my map to be rendered, which is exactly the same ID that we are going to be using here. And I'm also saying, this is the default center location of the map, and the zoom level, and you have this piece where you have to put your subscription key. So you're saying, like, this is the authorization type that we are going to be using, and this is what the subscription key is going to be like. And if you're going, if you remember, I was talking about the security aspect of the Azure Maps, and it can provide the role-based authentication and things like that. So this is where all that code will go, and it will make the call, and it will do all of the connections for you. So so first we want to get the subscription key. So what we can do is we can go to login to your Azure account, and I clicked on create a resource, and I'm going to be searching for Azure Maps. And the default landing page for Azure Maps here, and I'm going to go click create. So this is my personal subscription that I will be using today. So if you imagine Azure has, like, you have your subscription, and you have within the subscription you could have any number of resource groups, and each of the resource group can have any number of resources within it. So I'll be using my subscription, and I will create a new one. And just give it a name. Codecamp 2020. Okay, and I'll give you the green check mark so we know that it is available. Click OK, enter name. I could say Azure Maps 101. Yes, I'll go with the standard S1. I'm not going to be making a lot of calls, and I will be deleting all this stuff, the whole resource group right now. So I'll go with the most expensive one there. So click on confirm and then create. So what it is doing is it is going to create that resource group, Codecamp 2020, and then it created the map service itself. See, then it will say, development succeeded for your map. And if I go to click on go to resource, then I have this piece where I have my Azure map configured and all of the pieces that are required here. So this subscription key is part of the security authentication piece. So I have to go to authentication, and don't worry, I'm going to be deleting the whole thing, so it's okay. So all I need is the primary key here, and then I, click on this blue icon, I get copied, and okay, I go here and then paste it. That's all. So now your code is connected to Azure. The only difference is, so when are we going to call this method, right? you could have, imagine you have a page and then only on that page your map's supposed to be loading. Then you could do you could call that get map on document.ready when that page is ready. Then you could call that. Right now I'll be just putting it here on the body tag where we can put the get map. So this is just those pieces that you want to add. And let me go to that folder, CodeCamp 2020, and let me open the file. And where is I don't. Let me see. I have everything. Oh, the reason is even though it is loading there, like if you see that all the map box, GL and all of that stuff there, the div is kind of hidden on the top. I just have to add some CSS to bring it up to the front. Let me quickly add CSS, and let me add this piece. So I'm just taking the full height and width, adding, and my div is okay. So now let's go back to that folder and refresh. I'm gonna do a, oh, that's silly. I have to add the CSS file to my HTML file, right? I'm just changing the URL. There it is. Yeah. Come on. Yeah, there you go. Where is it? Yeah, so there you go. That's the map right now. You see the whole thing. You can do all of the zoom. You can double click and, all the panning, everything is there. And you also have your branded information like Microsoft, and you could also have a feedback link at the bottom of the map on the right corner. So this is like a base layer that we have, and everything that we do is on top of it. Imagine the map that you just see is like the base, and you're building on top of it, like adding your controls, adding the other layers and things like that. So we are just gonna quickly update some of the options on the map, and you could see how the same exact thing changes. Let me go back to the code and JS. So this is the center and this is the zoom level. So if I go back and refresh the page, so this is what you see at zoom level 1. So Azure has 25 levels of zoom that you could configure. So if I go here and then change the zoom level to maybe 15, and come here to refresh the page. Now it's at zoom level 15, and then the longitude and latitude are pointing to the Microsoft location in Reston. So that's what we have. Okay, get map. Okay. So this is the default mapping thing, and let's say if you don't want the Microsoft and then this improve feedback stuff gone, so there is an option for that as well. You could just copy the action and go here, and you could say I don't want to show logo false, and then show feedback link also false. And now if you refresh, and those things will be gone. So each of the stuff that you see is super configurable, super everything that you see is available to us to interact, to add and stuff like that. And there is also other options like like what language that you are providing. Do you want to like change it to French? Then you could just add a language and then add the language text, and then that will change it to French. And you could do something like this: render world copies false. So what this means is, if I save it and then go back, so if I completely zoom out to that, remember the zoom level 1 type of thing. Can I refresh? Okay. Sorry. So at this level, okay, at this level, we were seeing like the map being repeated in this white space, but now because we have that flag called render world copies to false, then it will only show one copy of the whole world. And you can see the text that has changed to French as well. Like I don't know how to read it, but that's French. So I'm gonna remove the French piece, but yeah, that's gone. So we can also add a thing called a style. Like what type of map do you want? Do you want the roads, or do you want the satellite, or do you want different other types, that style of the map that you want? So that the option for that is like, say style, and then you put you want a grayscale light, or there are other options like road or grayscale dark, or you want the night light and satellite road and labels and stuff like that. So if I add that and then save it, go to the map and then do another refresh, now our map is grayscale and then light. So if I put grayscale dark, it will be the same type of thing, but it's much darker. And you can also see, remember, if I removed the French language option, and then now all the text is in English, which is the default language. So there are some options I'm going to be showing the things. Okay, so and then there is other controls that you can add, like the zoom controls. There is no zoom controls here. If you observe, there is no zoom control. So you could add those controls as well by calling the map object, the instance of the object, and then adding the controls piece. So you have the map here. Now you wanted to add the controls. So what we do is, so we say once the map is initialized, you're calling the controls piece of it, and then say, I want to add a zoom controls and the position to be a bottom left. And you can also do, depending on, let's say if you want to add the controls only on a button action, you could say like, certain function show zoom controls, stuff like that. And you could just add this guy here. And then upon this function being called, you could add those controls as well, or you'll have the access to the controls object, and you can also change the position and things like that. So once we have that, so I'm going to be adding that controls, and so I'm just looking at the help help document that I have, so that I don't remember. I mean, I don't forget. And then there is other type of controls called pitch control, where you can change the tilt of the map. Let's say you want to see at a 45-degree angle, then you can add the pitch control. There is also the control, the style control. Like, remember, we have the default style here, and let's say you want to add all type of style controls that you want to see, and you could add that as well. And every of the control takes a position. This one is top right, and this is like bottom left, and this is top left. And let's see how this map gets rendered. Okay. Now you see, our zoom controls are here at the bottom left, and these are the style controls. If you hover over, we can switch to the roads, and then this grayscale light is what we have. and you can also change to grayscale dark, all those controls. And if you wanna, you can have a default one, and then you can enable this control so the user can change depending on what they wanted to do. And I also let me just change all of the styles to the same location. Sorry. Okay, now I did that. Let me quickly jump. Now you can see how those controls are under. They're in a stack. So first is zoom, and then the next one is the pitch one that we added. And you can also change the sequence of how you're adding those controls, and then that will be changed here as well. And imagine you don't want to show all these options, like you could just delete some of it, or you don't want to show the night options, and you could just delete from this array of map styles, and then that will be gone from there. And all of this, the type of styles you have, and then all of the list of controls that you could add is all available for us to use. I mean, for us to at least get familiarized at the docs.microsoft.com for Azure Maps. Okay. Now, the important piece that I wanted to mention, one thing is we are creating the map object here, and then we are calling the controls after that. So imagine this took some time, and then this was being called, and it will throw JavaScript errors and stuff like that, and it won't load the map. So what we have to do, or what we can do per se, is add an event and see when the map is done loading. When the map is ready, then you will add these controls. So to do that, we have like how we have the map.controls, we also have a thing called map.events. So let me copy map.events, and you could have like on hover, on release, on mouse in, mouse out, on click, on double click, and all of those types of events can be added here. And within after you add the event, and then when the map is done loading, you're going to call this callback function. And let me move this within. Okay, where am I? Yeah. Okay, now this is like a foolproof implementation. So we know that the map is ready, and then that's when we are going to be adding all the controls. Okay, so now we have talked about different type of controls and different type of, like all the events that you could add, and then the basic configuration on what needs to be done to add the map to our HTML file. The next thing comes is the data, like I was just sharing. One second. Yeah, so I was just talking about how the map, when we just have this code, we just have a basic layer of a map that's on our page. So on top of that, now we added controls, and then we know that we could add also events to the map as well. So now when it comes to data, imagine the map is like a base layer, and everything that you do, anything like if you want to add a map pin, or add thousands of pins, or draw a polygon on top of a map, or draw lines or dots or bubbles, or a heat map, everything. Any representation that you do on the map is done using layers. So there are different type of layers depending on what type of data you wanted to show. I think I have a slide for that. I'll just quickly show, but let me see here. Sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Okay, let me jump back to the slide. So this is that slide, we started the demo, and I was talking about zoom levels, and Azure Maps has 25 levels of zoom. You could configure from 0 to 24 in that options place where we said 1 and then changed it to 15 and things like that. So what does that zoom level means? So imagine you have all of the world map and you are showing it a zoom level 0. That means that it is a 2 power 0 which is a 1 by 1 matrix. Imagine in that way, it's a 1 by 1 matrix. So it's just one cell. If you set the zoom level to 2 or 1, then it is 2 power 1, which is 2 by 2 matrix. So all of the world map is rendered in a 2 by 2 matrix separation. And if you increase that to 2 power 24, then it's like whatever that big number by big number matrix representation of the whole map. So you could visualize, like, the more zoom level you increase, the closer you're going to get onto the map. And I was talking about the layers which are used to show data, and also depending on each of the layer that you add, you can also add events on top of it, on top of your data that you're going to show on those layers. So some of the basic layers are symbol layer. Symbol layer is just a layer where you could just put a map pin, or if you have a custom icon, you could show that in that layer as well. Or if you want to draw a line, then you would use a line layer. Polygon layer is a different, where you'll have multiple lines that draws a polygon, and you'll have a bubble layer, which is like all of the map pins are shown as bubbles. And then the most famous one, I think, and a personal favorite, is a heat map, where all of your data is rendered as a heat map. You could give different levels of the heat map, or you could also change the color of the heat map. Do you want to show the temperature? Then you want to show red and orange and things like that. Or if you want to show greenery, like how green is a certain area, then you can go with the green shades, which is also a heat map, but the color is changed. So this is just a representation here. So the first image that you see on the top is a line layer. You give just 2 points and it'll draw a line. And the next one is also a line layer, but you can have multiple points, and you can also add other things on top of it. So this bottom two ones are interesting. The left one on the bottom is a polygon layer, where you're giving coordinates of a polygon, and it will draw a polygon. And the right one is also it's a type of a polygon layer called a polygon extrusion layer. In this layer, you can add another parameter called height. So it will draw the polygon, and it will add the height to it. And then you can also, like, if you're looking at a 45-degree angle, then you could see that polygon extruded from the page. So let's quickly go to the layers demo. I think I'm going right on time. Okay. Okay. I'm just finding the piece to copy in here. Okay, so I'm going to be using a library called turf.js. It's a JavaScript library, which is also a map related library. So I added that JavaScript here. I highly recommend everyone to check it out. It's super good. So one of the functions that I will be using from that JavaScript library is to generate a random pin. So instead of me looking or deciding on what pin to show, I will just ask Turf to give me a random pin, and we will just plot it. So I go to my JavaScript file, and maps.ready. Now we have the ready. And we have that. Okay, so now we wanted to draw data, like at least plot pins on our map. So to do that, we need to create an object for data source. So, like all the other pieces that we have, we also have a provision to create a data source. So what we are doing is we are calling the the Atlas library, and in that we are calling in stuff controls. We are calling the source, and then instantiating an object for data source, and we are adding that empty data source object that we just created to the maps source object. So now the map has the data source. The thing is, because now we wanted to show a pin, I'm going to be calling the turf.js library, and then I'm asking for a random point, and it's actually going to give me 2 random points. You could change that to 2000 if you want. And I'm saying, give me all pins that is in this bounding box. So these coordinates are like, the American bounding area on a map. So now we have those 2 points. Imagine when you call it, you have those 2 points. Now you want to add those 2 points to your data source. And now you have the data source has the points. And to see those points, you need a layer. So because we are interested to show a symbol layer like a map, a default map pin, I'm creating an instance, again, calling the Atlas library, calling the layer, and then instantiating a new symbol layer and sending my resources here. Go just add layer here, I guess. Okay, now we have a layer. Now we have to add this layer to the map. So when the map is rendered, it knows that it has to render that layer as well on top of the base map that is by default, that's already rendered. So now that is there. I saved it. We go here, and now we refresh our page. Good. Okay, so I think I have to change that 15 zoom to maybe like 8 or something. Okay, so these are those 2 random points that that was created from the file. So if I go back and change again, I wanted to change the zoom to maybe like 6. We'll see if I refresh the page again, the zoom is changed obviously, and also you'll have a different set of random points because it's within the bounding box actually. So those are the 2 random points. Now, this is just very basic. You have your point, but there is no click action that's happening on top of the points and things like that. So one quick thing that I wanted to show, is instead of, let's say, a symbol layer, if we go with the bubble layer, let's see how that looks. Let me refresh. And where are my bubbles? Oh, there you go. Cool. So now you can see how the same data can be represented in a different way. If you want to show bubbles, then you could go with that, or if you want to show symbols, then the symbol layer will also have the capability of adding your own images. Let's say if you're showing weather, and you could show a weather map, or if you want to show our technician that is going on work, then you could show like a little truck that's going and things like that. So go here, and instead of I have some once. I'm just finding the next piece of code that I wanted to add here. Okay. Okay, let's go with that. Okay, so let's add like let's see, let's add 50,000 pins and see how that is being rendered in the same area. Refresh. Oh, 945 already. So now you have all those 50,000 pins, and what we can do is we can go to our data source and then say, hey, don't just plot everything, but make it cluster. Like then you could change the type of data source to render as a cluster instead of just plotting all of the pins. So you could just create the data source and then and then say cluster equal to true. And once you go refresh the map again, then you have your clusters. Now let's see, the number of pins are plotted are same, but if you zoom in, then you see more pins, and if you zoom out and all of them are clustered by a default radius, you could also change the radius from let's say 100 pixels of all of the points are joined into one cluster. Or let's say if you want 1,000 pixels are joined into one cluster, then you can mark that as well. That is given by the cluster radius. I'm just going faster right now. There is one other example I quickly want to show is the polygon map. Let me open my other page. Maybe that's faster instead of creating. I do have all of this samples I'll be posting on my blog. There are other samples I don't have time, but I definitely super interesting stuff I will going to be showing. So this is the polygon layer that I have the slide. I have it in my slides right now. We have the polygon representation there, and you have your coordinates, and then you draw the polygon. And I can also change the default tilt to a 45 degrees so I can see the height of it. It's super easy to change that as well. Where is my? Okay, let me slide it here. So if I go to the polygon.js, so this is what it looks like. You know, the basic map initialization, and you know, the events.ready, and you're waiting for the map to be ready, and you're adding the data source. And because you're going to draw a polygon now, your data source will have a bunch of coordinates where your polygon will be, and you're going to be adding those polygon points to your data source. And instead of a symbol layer or a bubble layer, you're going to be doing a polygon extrusion layer, and you send the data source. This null is a null object. Here you can give the ID for this layer. Let's say you want to call it as a polygon layer. And now this particular layer has an ID. You can use this ID in your JavaScript code to show or hide or things like that. And then you can see here, this is my fill color, the opacity here, and then the height is like 500. I think it's pixels. And then you're setting the camera to that location at a zoom level 10, even though you have your map center by default at this location at zoom level 5. At pitch 45, the pitch won't change because we didn't change here. So you're trying to set the camera position to this location at zoom level 10, and then when you open that, you have a polygon extrusion layer per se. If I go back here and then change the extrusion piece, like you know, remove it, then if I refresh this page, it's the same exact coordinates that we are drawing, but at this time we are not going to be showing the extrusion piece of it on the polygon. So imagine like you have data that you want to show, like number of houses that the technician finished, or number of houses that we completed. You know, then we could draw these polygons, or like, you know, you want to show like different graphs, or like the amount of trees that you have, and you know, anything, or number of customers that's playing a particular game in that area. You could show those extrusion pieces. You know, there are a lot of examples out there that you could follow here. And I'm gonna jump back to slides. So there is the other big piece on this maps is called a GeoJSON, which is a JSON that is used, or that is a standard that can be read by all of the geospatial libraries that's out there. So which is also a JSON format. Then this is like a simple GeoJSON data. So you have your type. You're saying this data is of type of a feature, and you can also have a feature or a feature collection. And you're saying this one piece of data has a geometry of type of point. So you're saying that this data that you're showing on that screen is a type of a point. Because it's a point, then it needs a latitude, or I mean longitude and latitude. Or this type could be a point or a multi-point. Then if you want to show a bunch of points, or a line, or a multi-line, or you know, or a polygon, then you have to specify the type here. And depending on that data, then the map could read that data, and then it knows what to plot. Like if you're saying a line or a multi-line, or you know, things like that. And the properties is a collection of data data metadata kind of scenario that is linked to that geometry that you wanted to plot. Like you can use this data to render pop-ups or to render filter data and things like that. And I have a simple example for a feature collection where you have the type is feature collection and it has an array of features, what we have in the previous slide. So this one piece is a feature, and in the feature collection you have multiple pieces of the same exact thing. Imagine like my technician goes out and installs meters at this location and then at this location. So I could assign all this data, GeoJSON data, to that technician and give it a date and give it a time. All that metadata can go in the properties piece. And when I'm doing the plotting, then I could filter on that as well. So it's a quick recap. Is we looked into how to set up Azure and added all the JavaScript files, map controls. We looked into how to add controls. We looked into how to add different zoom levels and languages and other options that you could add. We looked into different styles of the maps, like roads or dark or light and things like that. And the most famous data source that you could use is also GeoJSON. So articles. So at this website, I mean, this is super cool. I just want to quickly show. This is a collection of all of the samples that you could do. You could do animations, and you could do, you could animate multi-points, and you could do maps, and you could do heat maps, and you could, clusters and colors, and all of that. There is like so many things that you could do on the map, and I will be blogging about most of these examples with respect to a technician that's going out and finishing their job. So we have like a complete story. I do have some of the articles I'll be publishing in a day or two coming up. So this is like a polygon extrusion layer that's a sample here. And this is docs.microsoft.com for Azure Maps, which is very cool. I would highly recommend if you're learning and if you like anything. So I think this is like the final slide. If you have any questions or suggestions or comments, please let me know. Let me see if I have anything here. Sorry. Okay, published. Okay. I hope we are on time, right, Labrina? Okay. So
yeah, we're actually right on time. So that's great.
Thank you. So you can also tweet or go to the site, go to my website, or ask questions if you have. And actually, this is the final slide. Again, my name is Vijaya Malla, and I have a blog. Sometimes blog at vijayamalla.com, and you can tweet me at Vijaya Malla. And I would like to thank Labrina for moderating this first ever presentation that I'm doing, and thanks to my wife, obviously, for the support, and the Nova Code Camp team, organizing team, and all of the volunteers and the community for this opportunity. I hope to speak more, I guess. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
Okay. Well, first off, thank you so much, Vijaya, for kicking us off. This was a really great presentation. And I just put, and I don't think we had any questions, but I just put in the Discord channel. So if anyone has questions, please feel free to, we already got a comment over there. So any questions for Vijaya after this, go over to the Discord channel and chat and network. And I'm super excited about all the stuff that you talked about with Azure Maps. It's actually something I use quite a bit in my everyday job for a lot of my customers. So super cool to be able to build great visualizations and do things like I'm doing stuff around like routing and things like that. So it's cool. We definitely need to talk offline more, because I definitely would love to hear more about what you're doing, so we can
Definitely.
compare notes. Okay.
Yep. Thank
All
you.
right. Well, thank you.